Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about cancel culture. We're going to talk about John Barrowman and Little John, or Big John.
No, well,
depending on who you ask.
probably. Probably on what he tells you. He's gonna say Big John.
Yeah, Doctor Who star, Torchwood star, Arrow star, who was accused of whipping out Little John or Big John in front of his co-stars on set.
We did a video on that before. You can find it.
Yeah, and he's coming out against cancel culture.
I'm sure he is.
So we're going to talk about that. Before we get into it, though, we do have a sponsor. I have to give a shout out to the sponsor of this video, Opera GX. This is a browser designed for gamers. This browser will help you optimize your games, play games faster while doing other tasks. It's really very cool. It integrates with Twitch and with Discord. Let's take a look at some of these features. Here, we're gonna set this up. Look at these. This is actually pretty cool. We got Ultraviolet, we got Fruity de Mer. Fruity de Mer, Purple Haze. Yeah, I really like the themes. Vaporware, Purple Haze. We'll go with Purple Haze, all right? You've got different messengers here. Look at this. You got Facebook and WhatsApp, Discord. Awesome. You can colorize the icons. Cool. There you go. We're ready to go. Now let's check out some of these features. All right, I like this. I like the user interface. Very sleek. Another really cool feature of Opera GX is that you can force dark pages. Check it out. This is clownfishtv.com. See how it's nice and bright? Probably hurts your eyes. So go into the settings, click on force dark pages. Check it out. This has GX control, which is really, really cool. I was checking this out earlier. You can limit your RAM usage, your CPU usage. That's one of the biggest problems we have. We do live stream games on the other channel on Clownfish Studios, and a lot of times the game suffers, the performance suffers because we have Chrome open in the background and it's pulling on resources on the computer. And we have a pretty high-end PC that we record gaming videos on, but yeah, look at the difference, the memory usage on Chrome compared to Opera. So now we're logged into Twitch. You can see you can actually run your Twitch chats right in the browser. This is actually really cool. Connect Discord, connect Facebook Messenger. Very, very cool feature. In fact, I might switch over to this browser. I dig it quite a bit. Now this is GX Corner. GX Corner, which lets you stay up to date with free games, deals, new releases, easily accessible place. I really, really dig this. You can see upcoming games in the release calendar. Check this out. They tell you what's coming out. Hey man, King of Fighters. Here we go. Persona Arena Ultimax available March 17th. So you can join millions of other gamers optimizing their setup with the Opera GX browser. I actually, like I said, I legitimately dig this browser. And if you're on the go, you can download Opera GX for mobile, both for Apple and for Google devices. A lot of the same features that you'll find on the desktop version available on the go. Throw resource-hungry browsers away and click with confidence with Opera GX. Press F to pay respects to traditional web browsers. Opera GX is here to take over. Designed and built for gamers. Once you download, you'll never go back. Again, download today for free. Here's the link, and now on with the video. Now, he maintains that whipping it out in front of his co-stars was just playful and not meant to be malicious or innuendo.
You know what? I'm just going to tell you, people, and they don't like it when you just whip it out and wave it around at them. I mean, some people might, but the majority of people, they just don't want you to do that. Say no. Yeah,
most people don't like unsolicited dick pics, let alone unsolicited dicks.
Right. So, I mean, it was what it was, and it was a long time ago. It's just coming up now. Because,
so many jokes. So many jokes.
It's just coming up now because they're trying to, cancel him, and it goes into what we're talking about today.
Yeah, this is going to be a longer video. We're going to talk about other people being on the receiving end of cancel culture, and I think it's starting to end. It's not over, but it does seem like Twitter does not have the power it used to have. I think that Hollywood is starting to realize that Twitter, is not a real place, just like Dave Chappelle said.
It's full of assholes and their old accounts.
Yeah, and it's not indicative of the rest of the world at all. It is full of tons and tons of sock puppet accounts, And people who go there looking to cancel other people for ridiculous reasons.
Literally spend all day going through people's accounts trying to find something to get them in trouble on, flag them on, to get them removed.
Yeah, because it's power trip.
It's so stupid. It's like, you know, if you took that much effort and put it into like, you know, actually changing the world or, you know, getting a job, you might be in a better position.
So we're going to talk about this, and I got to give a hat tip to Martin for sending over the links to John Barrowman. I didn't realize that he had done this interview. I kind of wondered what happened to him, and I kind of wondered if he wasn't going to pop up again. Lots of jokes. Because Russell T Davies is coming back to Doctor Who, and I'm like, well, maybe they'll bring Captain Jack back. You know, they brought him back with the 13th Doctor. Maybe they'll bring him back again. I don't know. Maybe that's what he's angling for. But, I mean, if anything, this has probably affected his ability to go, because he does a lot of conventions, you know, go to conventions. And, you know, I don't know if he charges more to get a picture with Little John.
I'm sure he's allowed to do that.
I don't think he's allowed to do that. Get your autograph. Get Little John's autograph. So we'll talk about this because this is a bigger conversation. We've been talking about this pendulum swing for a couple of months now.
Longer than that, actually.
It's becoming very noticeable.
And Twitter's freaking out. It's glorious.
Twitter is losing power. I mean, that's the bottom line. Twitter is losing the power to cancel people. It used to be like any whisper of anything would get you canceled. And now it's like freaking, you know, Dave Chappelle, Joe Rogan, doesn't matter. They're bringing the money. They're bringing the views. Whoopi Goldberg doesn't get kept, like they're not getting canceled. Aquafina, now she did nuke her Twitter. But she's not canceled.
No, she just did a commercial for Disney Plus and, you know, and stuff like that. She's fine.
Yeah, so I think, if anything, I think people are canceling Twitter. They're no longer listening to Twitter because it clearly does not represent how the vast majority of people feel. In fact, a lot of the drama on Twitter never leaves Twitter. It's you know, a tempest in a teapot. The general public has no idea. Like John Barrowman even, you know, he could keep doing TV shows and people would be like, oh, hey, it's Captain Jack.
Pretty much,
and they wouldn't even know anything about this controversy. So let's talk about this. This is, again, hat tip to Martin, coming from the Huffington Post. John Barrowman likens cancel culture to hyenas for trying to strip him of his 35-year career. Welcome to the club there, John. Barrowman was he has hit out at cancel culture, saying it has gone way too far because it came for him. Same with Sarah Silverman. Same with, they always change their tune. Now, I don't know. To be honest, I don't know if John Barrowman was ever an advocate for cancel culture, but it seems like you see all these people that are like, cancel them, cancel them, cancel them. And then they're on the receiving end. Like, look at Joy Behar, you know, look at, as soon as you become a victim of cancel culture, all of a sudden it's like, hey, maybe we've gone too far.
Yeah, this should stop.
You know, they're in my backyard now. They're burning my stuff.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's gone way too far and compared those who engage in it as hyenas for trying to end his career. The actor and presenter was at the center of an on-set misconduct allegation. He was whipping it out last year. Claims he repeatedly whipped it out on the sets of Torchwood and Doctor Who. The 54-year-old has always maintained that the stories about his behavior had been exaggerated, describing it as bawdy, silly behavior. It was a puppet show, nothing more.
Puppet show.
And issued an apology. It doesn't matter if you apologize, John. They always...
For now on, for the love of God, don't whip it out.
Don't whip it out. During an interview on Tuesday's Good Morning Britain, the star doubled down on his view that his behavior was not harassment.
Well, dude, if you're waving your dick around people and they don't want you to, that's kind of like, you know,
this sounds
tomfoolery.
This sounds very British. Now, he is American. John Barrowman is American, but I think he lives in Britain. But it was tomfoolery and it was silly. It was just a silly puppet show, and I shouldn't have done that. We had a great time on set. It wasn't harassment. The public have seen that. No, they haven't seen it.
Which part?
They haven't seen everything, John. He added, cancel culture has tried to strip my career after 35 years. The stories are not new. I wrote about them in my autobiography.
Yeah, that's true. It wasn't something that he's like, you know,
hiding.
Yeah. I mean,
where are you hiding?
But don't do that anymore.
Don't do that, especially now. Cancel culture are like hyenas. They're trying to strip the meat off the bone.
Okay.
Cancel culture has gone way too far. I'm ready to move on now, and so is everyone else.
Yep.
Yes, this is it. I think we had 2 or 3 years where you could trip anybody up for anything and get them fired very, very easily. And I think what happened was studios and publishers, they made the mistake of thinking Twitter was the real world. Mm-hmm. And now we're seeing it's not.
Well, he says that. He said the fallout from the controversy has been difficult to deal with, and that he had worried about his reputation. It was very traumatic and upsetting for me and my family. Companies believed what was said on Twitter instead of people talking to me. And that's a problem we've run into. Even today.
Literally today.
Somebody had said something about us, and one of the comments was in there was saying about that supposedly that Neon had said that they didn't need Shang-Chi. They already had Jackie Chan and Bruce Lee and all that, and he's like F Clownfish, and we're like, we never said that. Who the hell told you we said that?
Somebody told them we said that. The thing is, if you'd actually go back, and it's so funny because so many of our detractors don't actually watch our videos, or they watch parts of our videos, or they look at the thumbnail, or they listen to, whatever. They don't actually watch our videos. We actually gave Shang-Chi a good review.
Right. And I think what they're talking about might have been when you jokingly said something about...
I jokingly said, you
can't have Asian actor or something. I forget. Yeah, it was a joke.
No, what I was joking about and I was pointing out, and actually, some Asian commenters backed me up on this. It was kind of like they're acting like this is the first movie with an Asian male lead to be a box office success. And I'm like, so what the hell was Bruce Lee and what the hell was Jackie Chan?
Right, that's what you said.
I was saying that you're minimizing their impact on pop culture by saying Simu Liu was the first.
Oh, we get this
star
all the time. People are always saying that we said things we didn't say, or like you'll go to these things and Clownfish said this and that, and it's like, no, we didn't. Though actually, it was funny. I had people argue with me in the comments, not knowing I was me, about what I said, and I'm like, that's not what I said, or that's not what was said. Well, yes, it was. Go listen to what she said. I'm like, I'm her. I know what I effing said, and it's like, so yeah, it's true. They listened to everybody else's hot takes. We saw this with Gina Carano, I think. You know, they wouldn't actually talk, and then, but I guess in her case, they did talk to her. And then she had meetings with them and everything was okay. But they just wouldn't stop until,
Yeah. And here's the thing about Twitter too. You have to realize, going again with the belief that it's not a real place, you can have like 12 or 20 angry people with so many sock puppet accounts. So
it looks like it's 2000.
It looks like it's an angry mob, and it's not. It really isn't. It's a handful of people. We found in our case, we have a handful of really salty detractors that have a bunch of alt accounts on a bunch of different social media platforms. And we've been able to connect some of the dots. It turns out they're a lot of the same people.
Happy belated birthday, Nate.
Hi, Nate. How you doing?
Anyway.
Nate. Flushing those clowns.
Right, that's right.
Anyway. He said I wasn't sleeping. I was so worried about what people were going to say. That's your first problem there, John. Well, it's your second problem.
You have to in this kind of industry.
Your first problem is you whipped it out in front of your co-stars.
Repeatedly.
That probably is not a good look. But your second is you worry too much about what people say. Be more like Dave Chappelle. Tell people to go fuck themselves.
Well, that's what maybe that's the message he was trying to show.
Well, yeah. Anyway,
we need to learn to forgive. It's a different time now. I wouldn't do that now. As times are different. Well, that's a good point. Yeah. I guess he still shouldn't have done it then. But it might have been that people, depending on the set that people were involved, it might have been like a funny joke to some people, but not to others. Yeah. And the thing is, they don't forgive, and that's a problem we're seeing. Is somebody made a comment like James Gunn made a comment years ago as a poor joke, and they got fired. People that they've dug up, people that lean far left, and they've dug up these jokes they've made or something they said, or they've made people apologize for having a wedding in a place they didn't like.
Ryan Reynolds,
it's been insane.
Ryan Reynolds had his wedding at a plantation, right? Black people have had their weddings.
I was going to say, black people were saying, I had my wedding there too.
At the same venue.
I know, right?
It is no longer a plantation. There are no longer slaves, right? It's actually pretty posh from what I understand. But yeah, we actually had some folks in the comments say, hey, I'm black and I had my wedding there. You know?
It's just ridiculous.
But they made him apologize for that.
I know. I'm just so tired of it. It's just like, hey, yeah, people said stupid things. Those of you who have never said anything stupid or posted something dumb or done something wrong, raise your hand. You're a liar.
Yeah, in May last year, The Guardian published there you go. Guardian published allegations from two women that the actor exposed himself on a regular basis. Numerous witnesses described the incidents to the newspaper as inappropriate pranks.
That's a new meaning for Torchwood.
Torchwood. Burn it! Burn his wood. He added it was only ever intended in good humor to entertain colleagues on set and backstage.
I remember that from before, and I just can't get past that.
I had a jolly good time with Little John, and I put on a puppet show for my colleagues. Look, Mr. Barrowman.
I like you, but please.
I do. I like John Barrowman a lot. I like him in everything
I hope
he's
he
been
comes back as Captain Jack.
I liked him on Arrow. I like John Barrowman, okay? Whipping your dick out to entertain people is not a good idea.
Please do not.
In any decade.
I don't care what we're at. You're not whipping it out to entertain people.
Everybody looks so bored. What would get this party started? I know. I know exactly what I have to do. I have to man up and entertain. Zip. No. In a statement issued in June, he said, with the benefit of hindsight, I understand that upset may have been caused by my exuberant behavior. This sounds very 18th century. Oh, I understand that upset may have been caused by my exuberant behavior, and I've apologized for this previously.
I think some of it too is I've seen him in like shows and stuff where he was like, on, and they were like more like live shows and stuff like that, not like dramas. And he kind of had the attitude back then that he was the shit, and that everybody wanted him. So I think part of it was maybe in his mind. I'm doing them a favor. It's charity, really. So.
Oh my God. Well, Julie Gardner was an executive producer on Doctor Who, and Torchwood said that she did get a complaint. She called him out for it, said, yeah, you can't whip your dick out, John. And they brought him back. I mean, they brought him back just last season. So, I mean, they knew about this. It wasn't like they didn't know about it. But of course, it's almost like Twitter was like, oh, we forgot about you. You were just kind of laying low, but we know all about you. A lot of times, I mean, this is what gets me too with Twitter is like the shit that they dig up is old news.
Well, that's what the one person said. If you read the rest of the article, they said in 2008, it was brought to her attention.
Yeah.
He was reprimanded. The agent was told, and as far as they knew, it stopped then.
Yeah. And even with the James Gunn, people knew he made crude jokes. He was pretty edgy.
He still does.
I mean, look, I get, but digging up old shit, unless you're killing somebody or breaking the law or something, I think is really stupid. In a lot of cases, everybody already knew about it.
Well, there's a lot of people who've said a lot of things in the last 2 or 3 years that are going to come back to bite them in the ass in a few years, guaranteed.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and you know what? People know to take screenshots now. So a lot of people that are getting the most angry and calling everybody else out have said some things that are not going to age well. After this whole insanity is over.
Yeah, so this is coming from USA Today. This was just, a couple of days ago. It was last week. Joe Rogan, Whoopi, Awkwafina, Dave Chappelle, none was canceled. This is a new cultural detente. Basically, it's not working as well as it was even a year or two ago. It's not working like it used to. And, even, mainstream people like, Joe Rogan, on Spotify and Dave Chappelle on Netflix, you look at the Gina Carano situation and, I have to think that was definitely a Lucasfilm decision because I think if she was on Netflix or Spotify, that probably wouldn't have happened. We've had Netflix and Spotify employees try to cancel these guys. And the thing is what they're trying to do is basically, make them go underground. Like we're going to cancel you from the mainstream and you have to go to some like deep dark corner of the internet.
To what end? What do you think? Who's going to fill in? Like there's someone they like, apparently.
Yes,
but that's not going to mainstream people want. But that's coming. I want to point out though, real quick, when you let the list of people that were canceled from the headline, one thing is nice to know that they are making sure they're pushing diversity and inclusion in cancellations as well.
Yeah, look at this. Joe Rogan's the only white guy on here.
And at least they're diverse and inclusive.
Yeah, I mean, it used to be a couple of years ago. It was like, oh, there's another toxic white guy.
You can't say anything to anybody who's not white, straight, or male. Yeah. So I mean, I'll give them that. At least they're more progressive in their cancellations.
Yeah, they're talking about Speaker's Corner. Speaker's Corner outside of London's Hyde Park, and they had their views heard by the masses. Talking bold-faced names like Vladimir Lenin, Karl Marx, who today would have millions of Twitter followers. That's probably true.
Probably is.
Back then, you were lucky if a few hundred people showed up, and amplifying what you said required not just journalists, but also at least a day to print and deliver your brilliant wisdom or outrageous screed. And that's what's going on now is we have access to everybody. instantly and everybody's thoughts, and people who frankly shouldn't be allowed to have public thoughts are allowed to have public thoughts.
Well, the problem is when you become somebody who has a large audience, you know, I'm kind of like torn because like, why shouldn't you be allowed to say what you think when everybody else is allowed to say what they think? But it just becomes a problem then because then everybody's watching what you say because you have a bigger audience.
Yeah, and that's it. And usually you look at cancel culture, the bigger you become, the bigger threat you become. You know, I do believe there's some devious motivation behind some of the cancellations for sure. I think in the case of Rogan, he is too much of a threat to mainstream news outlets that they're no pun intended, trumping up, you know, a lot of the stuff against him. A lot of times all he does is sit there and listen to what people have to say. He lets them spout off their opinions.
How dare you let them say anything?
Yeah, yeah. You know, but it's interesting, you know, this is another podcaster, Brene Brown. The world's reconfigured as a big high school cafeteria.
Yes, it's like high school.
Yeah, you can sit anywhere you want and talk to whomever you please. And for better and worse, people can pretty much say what they want. It's a free-for-all. The problem is that I think some voices are being artificially amplified. You know, we're giving the same weight to randos on Twitter that you would give, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And in some ways, it's good that it's become the equalizer, but it is very uneven in how things like, oh my God, a handful of bot accounts said so-and-so said this thing 7 years ago and they got, oh, we better fire him.
Right, because we said looking into it ourselves, you know.
Yep, Awkwafina quit Twitter after addressing linguistic acculturation of black culture. You know, she's a rapper. Yeah, so it's crazy and it's ending. I think it's ending. I think it is. I think it's gone on too long, and I think now that some approved people in Hollywood are on the receiving end of it, that things are going to change real damn quick because nobody is safe.
Yeah, but it's not affecting them because, like, you know, Awkwafina's still doing stuff for Disney. I'm sure they're doing Shang-Chi too. She's going to be in that. Whoopi Goldberg's back on The View. You know, they just gave Dave Chappelle more specials, and he's producing them now. I'm like, all you're doing is making them bigger. But it's funny because now that it's happening more and more, now Hollywood's like, oh, we need to stop listening to Twitter.
Yeah, so check this. Yeah, now that we're coming for Whoopi and now that we're
coming for you guys. So
yeah, we're coming for you now. Yeah, when you really start digging into some of the people in Hollywood, some of the stuff they're into.
The Me Too shit. They had those women's groups and they had up banning them and everything else because it turned out that there was like
stealing money.
Yeah, and they were, you know.
So, yeah.
They had all that crap going on with Cuomo and all that. And then people were calling them out because the funds they're supposed to be raising to help women supposedly weren't going to the women.
Well, there's one big fundraising organization whose money is not all accounted for.
Right. You know, all those, you know, incidences happened that for months in 2020 and, you know, raise money for that. And now it's all under scrutiny.
Anyway, again, this is USA Today. This isn't some like right-wing fringe blog or something, right? Because, you know, we were told on Twitter for years, it's like, no, we're just canceling far-right extremists.
No, it's because when we say it and call out this shit, we're the right-wing fringe blog, even though we're not right-wing. But when they say it, it's just pointing out facts.
Yeah, and it's changing. Cancel culture went too far and is on notice. It's too much to argue that cancel culture is canceled. I think it's getting there. Perhaps it's on notice, and that may not be a bad thing. Yeah, these are scholars. In its early stages, cancel culture, whether on Me Too or racial matters, went too far and in ways that were not ethically sustainable, says James Davison Hunter, a University of Virginia sociologist whose 91 book, Culture Wars, The Struggle to Define America.
Back in the 90s, we had all that PC culture then.
Yeah, it lasted a couple of years until people got tired of it.
That's what this reminds me of.
South Park called it.
It's like worse than it was then, but yeah. Yeah, South Park calls everything, let's be honest here.
Absolutely, and they called Canada too.
Good job, guys.
But they cemented that two-word term in the vernacular. The extremism of the activists discredited many of the legitimate concerns of these movements. Yes, I think what we are now seeing is a pullback from that extremism.
Which is what we need.
They talk about, you know, all the politics. Basically, well, everybody was mad at Trump, so that made it okay. Yeah, I don't think that's the case. What frustrates me is people often have no appreciation for context. He says, you don't want to be in an environment where someone says something and boom, they're done, because everything is not the same. The culture needs to get away from broad-based criticism and pay more attention to nuance.
Well, we brought that up before.
Yeah, and part of that is
intention matters.
On Twitter, you can't really get the intention or the inflection sometimes that people have. Like, they might be making a joke. It might be a bad joke. But you're not going to get that because they just typed it out and fired it off.
Or they said it out loud. Sometimes people say jokes and you don't like it because it offends you. But you know what? I'm sure you've said jokes that offended other people. You know, people get offended. I'm sorry. That shouldn't be the end of jokes and humor. They were literally talking about I should cancel comedy.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah, this is fun. You know, they said inconsistent standards leave many as confused as a cat in a litter box.
Why? Cats aren't confused when they're in a litter box.
If they're to take a dump.
My cats know exactly what they're doing in the litter box. Except for one who likes to throw litter everywhere. But that's another story.
Basically, they're trying to compare the attempted cancellation of Whoopi Goldberg and Awkwafina and saying that they were dealt with differently than maybe someone that was a little more conservative. You know, maybe, you know, I mean,
it's true, though.
Yeah, it's easier. Easier to cancel somebody like Joe Rogan, or which he has been canceled because he's bringing the numbers, or somebody that's, you know, an out Trump supporter constantly going on about conservative politics because it's acceptable by Twitter to dunk on those people. In fact, it's encouraged on Twitter to dunk on those people. So it comes down to the person that is the target of cancellation. Did they actually do anything that wrong, or did they just say things you didn't like that you didn't agree with, which makes it so much easier to get rid of them? And that's what it is, you know. So we'll see what happens, but things are absolutely changing. For sure, they have to. This is not sustainable. There's not going to be anybody left.
Right. It's insane. I'm just like, I think we're all just over it. Let's just all go back to do your best to try to stay in the middle and try to stay rational and try to stay, you know, like, you know, you might like something I don't like, but that's okay. We can still be friends. You might vote differently than me, but that's okay. We can still be friends. You know, like most people did for years.
Yep.
Half the time I didn't know who my friends voted for. I didn't ask either. I was like, that's their choice. I don't, you know, that's up to them. Not my place to shame them for it.
I never discussed politics with friends until 2016.
They always say don't do politics and religion. This is why.
Yeah, when politics are your religion, then things get really
That's
sticky.
The problem now.
This is kind of funny though. This is actually Stella Parton, who's Dolly Parton's sister. And this is where this came from. I'm confused as a cat in a litter box. Can someone explain why Joe Rogan won't be silenced after his racial slurs on his podcast on Spotify, but Chris Cuomo, who helped his brother Andrew with his debacle, was fired from CNN? Well, that's her opinion, but basically it is who you are. It's not even so much what you say or what you do. It's who you are and what your out belief system is.
Right. It's okay if we cancel Joe Rogan, but we shouldn't have canceled Chris Cuomo because he's very far left.
Yeah,
basically.
Exactly.
I'm just like, but everybody's guilty of it, no matter which side you're on, if we're going to be fair.
Yeah, well,
you know,
James Gunn was canceled by the right.
Yeah, so I mean, I think everybody has done, or have felt that somebody went too far that they don't agree with from time to time. But this whole idea of, you know, we'll cancel them is just getting ridiculous.
Yeah.
Let's say actually literally did something really bad.
And it keeps escalating. It's like, oh, you took one of ours, so we're going to take 3 of yours, you know? And it's ridiculous. It's like, when is this shit going to stop? Like, unless somebody's actually breaking the law, knock it the fuck off.
Well, I mean, as long as they apologize and they're sincere, too. That's what, you know, like I mean, Whoopi Goldberg she apologized. And what gets me is, how sincere was she when she apologized and then was pissed that they still took her off for 2 weeks? I'm like, well, were you that sincere? But I'm just saying, I mean, she got punished. Okay, move on. Why couldn't, like, if they've said, okay, Gina, you got, you know, we're not putting you in the first couple episodes of a show. And you're allowed, you know, don't say anything on Twitter for like a month. Okay, you know, we're moving on.
Yeah, we'll wrap you across the knuckles. Maybe, you know, delete your Twitter. I think in her case, I think it was she pushed back hard because she's like, you're not going to shut me up.
Well, she's like me. She's like, she fights back. It gets me in trouble. Gets her in trouble.
Yeah, I'd be the same way. I'd absolutely get canceled.
I know.
If they told me, like, you can't say this, you can't say that, I'd be like, I'm going to say it.
Yeah,
I'm going to do it.
It's gotten us in trouble many times.
It has gotten us in trouble. So anyway, we're going to wrap this one up.
Yes, please do.
Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We'll talk later.
Bye.